why you want me to join a bee band? Fuku stuttered. Yes, Sheena said affirmatively. Sheena had come to Fuku's room with this offer, something Fuku really couldn't believe. Why me? Fuku asked in both fear and disbelief. Because you're super good with your hands. So I'm sure you'd be able to learn an instrument really quickly if you tried, Sheena theorized. I mean, you can use a bow and that has a string, so I think you'd be able to pick up a guitar or a bass really easily. I don't think it'll be that easy, Fuku objected. And there's no way I could take that kind of attention. Standing on a stage. I think I'd drop dead from stress. Would it help if you wore your hoodie? Sheena asked. Nope. Can't do it. I'm so sorry. Fuku apologized before going into a Dajiza pose. Please don't make me. Sheena thought about it. Okay, what if you only recorded music for us, and didn't do any stage stuff? Then I'd be holding you guys back. Fuku continued to object. You need to find someone else. What about Lady Kiba? She'd love to be on stage? Lady Kiba would break all the instruments. Sheena pointed out. Oh yeah, what about Kay? Fuku asked. She can barely read Japanese, let alone read music. Sheena sighed. Eri? Fuku suggested half-heartedly. Sheena sighed. A look of disappointment dawned on her face that hit Fuku like a punch to the gut. There's really no way to get you to join? That face is not fair. Fuku pouted. Why do you want me to join so badly anyway? I told you, it's because you're super talented, Sheena said adamantly, looking at Fuku with a gaze full of expectations that made Fuku shiver. I was always a bit jealous of everything you could do, but always admired you for it too. And I really want to see what someone like you could do with music, but if you really don't want to. And there it was again, that disappointed expression that hit Fuku where it hurt. Come on, Fuku, look at her. She wants you to help her so badly. How could you be so heartless? She asked herself, before giving a counter-argument. Because I don't want to die of shame. Maybe I'm good at a few things, but I don't have any experience with music. But can't you just try? For her? She argued against herself. Are you really that selfish? Fine. You win. I'll try it, Fuku said, collapsing to the ground in frustration. But if it doesn't work out, don't blame me. Thank you. Sheena jumped at Fuku, eagerly wrapping her in a hug. It was insane how much her makeover boosted her confidence and self-esteem. Oh, and would you mind helping me write a song? Sheena asked, with a bit of a wince, knowing she was asking for a lot already. Well, I actually already wrote one, Fuku said sheepishly. It had been an experiment she'd made, working on it every now and then when she was bored. But I'm not sure it's any good. Actually, scratch that, I'm sure it's not. Just forget I said anything. No, no, show me, Sheena said eagerly. Humph, you're so pushy. I think I liked you better when you were shy. Fuku grumbled under her breath as she went over to one of the many filing cabinets in her room, opened it up, and started looking. Wow, she writes a lot, Sheena thought as she saw Fuku going through tons of papers. And draws too. And wow, she organizes really well. After a bit of searching, Fuku finally found it, a singular piece of paper. It's just lyrics, but, here. Fuku showed her the paper, and Sheena looked over it. There was a couple minutes of silence as Sheena read it before she looked over to Fuku with a smile. Fuku, I think we can work with this. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX lead singer and lead guitarist. Knees on drums. Ko as the secondary guitarist. Or the only guitarist if they wanted Sheena to focus on singing. And Fuku on bass. Very, very, very reluctantly. The group spent months practicing. Fuku oftentimes couldn't join in due to her other obligations, but she managed about as well as the others. All the while, Fuku and Sheena worked on what would be their first original song. They worked and worked until eventually, they felt ready enough to actually try and record something. Alright, everybody, let's get ready to rock, Ko said via text-to-speech. Are you guys sure about this? Fuku asked, still very unsure about all this. She'd come to actually not dislike being part of the band. Music was an art she'd always heavily enjoyed, but never felt like she had what it took to really get good at it. So to see that she actually could make music, as extremely amateurish as it was very encouraging. Of course that only applied to just practicing. She still didn't think she was anywhere near ready for an actual recording that would be posted on the internet. Yeah, maybe we should just practice a bit more. Knees agreed. Come on guys, we can do this. Sheena encouraged them, putting on a front of determination. In truth, she was horribly nervous as well. But she had faith that all the practice they'd put into this by now. Although she still made sure that all her makeup was sweat-proof before they gathered. If we keep talking ourselves out of taking the first step, then we'll never move forward, Sheena said. Repeating something motivational Yonda had told her earlier. Even if we mess up, we can just try again. So let's go. Yeah, Ko said using text-to-speech, punching the air enthusiastically. Knees and Fuku looked at each other. Knees gathered her courage and gave Fuku a determined look, which in turn encouraged her as well. And she returned the expression. All right, the two of them said in tandem. Izuku was just casually relaxing in his room, watching some of his soldiers helping out heroes during a villain fight. It was very bizarre to think that, by extension, he was technically taking on villains alongside heroes, and his younger self likely would have said it didn't count, but it was still gratifying in its own way. Plus he still got to see a cool fight. Knock knock knock. Come in, Izuka said, as he quickly turned off the TV ready to address whatever this was. The door opened, and the 4 band girls came in. Hey, Mr. Midoriya, check this out, Ko said excitedly. Well, her expression was expected. Text-to-speech made it almost comically neutral sounding. She showed him her phone, with a video pulled up, titled, Our First Song. We wanted to show you it first before we uploaded it, Sheena said, looking a bit more obviously nervous now. Shuffling in place and twiddling her thumbs. Just tell us what you think? And don't just flatter us because we're your kids. Fuku shouted. She was obviously way more nervous. Sure, you couldn't see her face due to her hoodie, but given how she was trembling and hiding behind Sheena, it wasn't hard to gauge her feelings. Mies was also rather nervous looking, pinching her hand every once in a while, making Ko the only one who seemed to have zero worries. Alright, let's take a look. Izuka grabbed the phone, sat back down, and pressed play. 1, 2, break out, Sheena sang. The music came in, and all 4 of them went in on their instruments. Trapped, stuck, all alone, and told to stay. Told that things were meant to be that way. Every day I am forced to obey orders I despise. But don't think for a second that I don't see through your lies. Break out. Everyone else suddenly jumped in. Of the cage, of the box, of the lies holding me back. Break out. Tear down the walls, bomb the halls, time to go on the attack. Break out. Such a fool your greedy mind would never see. Break out. That such a life would never be enough for someone like me. Break out. Break out. Break out. Thought that fear and pain would keep me down. But I've gone past that and gained my crown. All the doubt, all the chains, all the pain you left in my mind. Much like you, I'm ready to leave them all behind. Break out of the excuses and the lies inside my head. Break out. Cut the chains, weighing me down like lead. Break out. Now I'm as strong as I can be. Break out. Now nothing you can do to stop me from breaking free. Break out. That's when Ko's guitar solo kicked in, going on for about half a minute before the lyrics came back. You refused to love me, so I learned to love myself. I refuse to stay with you, you're a hazard to my health. I'll finally find a safe haven. Finally, I found my way. My brand new life starts. Right now it starts today. Break out of the love of the family that was never there. Break out. Time to pay retributions, only fair. Break out. Now you're gone, long gone, and now I'm free. Break out. So it's time to finally be the thing I thought I'd never be, the unrestricted, non-conflicted, the emancipated, the ideal me. Break out. And just like that, it ended. It was very obviously amateurish. Izuku wasn't a music buff, not in the slightest, but even he could tell the difference between this and more professional works, just by listening. That wasn't to say it was bad. No, it was pleasant to listen to, just not something too great. And despite that, Izuku had a massive smile on his face as he listened to it. Just the sheer amount of effort that was obviously put into this. Their determined, half-exhausted faces showed that they'd obviously recorded this many, many times trying to get it right. You could see it in their eyes, just how much they wanted to get this right. And the lyrics, turning their tragic pasts into fuel for their songs, and proclaiming themselves free of their baggage. It did his heart good. Izuku handed the phone back to the girls, who had been looking up at him hopefully. Girls, you have a very promising music career. Ko jumped for joy, while Sheena and Fuku breathed sighs of relief, and Nis did a little fist pump. So, what's your band name? Izuku asked. Each of the girls looked at each other, before looking up at Izuku. Our name, Sheena said. It's Liberation.